sunshine of centre court once again.
He's got it! The Tigers have won by a point!
Hello and welcome to the final score, where if it's happened over the past week in sport, we're going to be talking about it here on upstart.net.au. I'm Val Febo here with you today on Monday, the 10th of October. It's quite a cold day in Melbourne for spring, but we'll get through it because we've got a lot of sport to get through. First off the rank though, the panel. Joel Frucci is here with me. How you going, mate?
Good, thanks, Val. How are you, mate?
I'm fantastic. And how was your weekend?
Yeah, lovely, mate. The A-League was back, so I just locked myself in the house, sat on the couch and watched a lot of football.
Yeah, you would have been very pleased with that. What was your moment of the week, though?
My moment of the week was Boomer Harvey actually announcing his retirement. But the reason I say that is because it means he's going to stay as a one-club player. And there's just something really to like about one-club players. There's not many of them in this modern age of this modern age of sport where money speaks a lot. But look, 432 games. Congratulations, Boomer.
Yeah, it was a great career.
And see him play for North Heidelberg.
Yeah, I think they were saying it's a 90% chance that he'd be playing for them. So I think he'll definitely strap on the boots again for definitely one of the local clubs. Yeah. And Josh Campbell, you're here as well. How are you going?
Not too bad. How are you?
I'm fantastic. And what was your moment of the week?
The man, the myth, the legend. He was a complete pain in the side of Perth Glory's defence, and that was Connor Payne. He 3-0 at halftime down to Perth. He brought Central Coast back to a 3-3 draw and was judge man of the match in that game as well. So,
yeah, he was very good, wasn't he?
Yes. We did have, me and my dad have a quite running joke about how he was Melbourne Victory's best player during their season last season. So it was good to see him generally playing very well for them.
Yeah, and that whole game had everything. It was backs against the wall, Central Coast, and then somehow coming back from 3-0 down. That's a superb effort. And Ryan Tennyson also here. He's running the Herald Sun when he's not here. How you going,
please. Mate? I'm good, mate. I'm good, thank you.
You were chief of staff for that one night, so you can't say no.
Technically, yeah.
And what was your moment of the week?
Nick Kyrgios winning in Tokyo. I thought that was a special effort from him and was by far the best player in that tournament. So kudos to Big Nick.
That's exactly what we want from Kyrgios, and hopefully he can continue doing that, because then I will say he can be the face of Australian tennis, but still got a bit of work to do. And Marissa Lord-Danich, the queen of Outside 90, the soccer or football website. And how you going, mate?
I'm good. How are you?
It's great to have you on.
Thank you.
Very good. And you were one of the inaugural guests on this show, so
I was. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, great to have you back. And you're going to be talking some A-League and Socceroos with us today.
Definitely love talking some football.
And what was your moment of the week?
My moment of the week was Caitlin Bassett's performance for the Diamonds in the Constellation Cup. She shot at 100%, 47 shots, 47 goals in 3/4 of netball. So she was phenomenal on the weekend.
Wow, that's really good. I didn't even see that the Constellation Cup was on. So that's fantastic. And the 100% record. That's
100% shooting. Yeah, she only played 3/4. She got taken off in the fourth quarter, but 47 shots, 47 goals. So a very impressive performance from her.
I'm thinking NBA Jam where the ring catches on fire. That's the level of shooting I'm seeing.
That's it.
Yeah, sounds good. But my moment of the week, really quickly, Tyrone Vickery is no longer a Tiger, and as a long-suffering Richmond supporter, it gives me great pleasure to see him go, because what a waste of a draft pick that one was. But let's move on. We'll go to the A-League, and the first round wrapped up over the weekend, and Brisbane, the season opener with Melbourne Victory, drawing 1-1. That one had a lot of tension, and in the 96th minute, it was a Luke De Vere goal that put the Brisbane Roar at 1-1 with Victory, and it was pretty heartbreaking for Melbourne, considering it was the final minute of the match. It was the final play. So, Joel, as a Victory fan, you would have been waiting for the season to start, and not the best way to get off to the new campaign for Victory.
Yeah, well, in context, it's really not surprising, considering Victory's arduous recent history at Suncorp Stadium. It's probably the third time in, I'd say, 3 or 4 years that Victory have conceded beyond the 90th minute. And of course, there was that elimination final last year that had on the plate 88th minute and then ended up losing somehow. But look, it was 2 points dropped for Victory. Had the lead, had the numerical advantage, and to give it away in the 96th minute from a set piece that really didn't even need to be given away.
Yeah, retire Lee Broxham.
Yeah, well, his only contribution after coming on was giving away that free kick. So not Broxy's best game, it's fair to say. But yeah, I'd be interested to see how Kevin Muscat responds to this during the week, because it was a game that Melbourne Victory should have won.
Oh, he would have been fired up in the change room after the game. But the main talking point from this match was the red card to Matt Mackay. And John Aloisi, after the match, was furious with the refereeing decisions. And we'll play what Aloisi had to say on Fox Sports. He was livid, but I want to get all of your thoughts afterwards as to if it should have been a red card. But we'll play Aloisi first.
First of all, the Mackay yellow card in the first half. Mackay's 5'2". I might be kind, Cozzy. He's gone up for the ball, clearly won the ball. He has to go jump with his arms up, and they give him a yellow card. It wasn't even a free kick, in my opinion. And the second, there was a little bit of tugging from both players, and then he gets... It changes the game. Look, in my opinion, the referee was not good enough tonight.
So we'll start with you, Marissa. We were talking about this off air. Was it deserving of a red card?
Well, they were two bookable offences, in my opinion. Silly offences, but bookable. So I think it was fair that he was sent off, but I reckon Aloisi is going to cop some heat from the FFA, especially for that last comment saying that the referee was not good enough. So it'll be interesting to see what the FFA do about that. Yeah,
because usually in a lot of other codes, it's against rules to say things like that about the umpires or refereeing. Like AFL, you get fined heavily. In NRL...
Yeah, that's what happened to Brad Scott with the whole Lindsay Thomas incident.
Yeah, and I remember with that back, this is a long time ago, but James Hurd, as a player, said something about Scott McLaren, the umpire, and got absolutely, I think he had
$20,000.
$20,000, yeah. It was a mammoth amount. But yeah, the offence, Ryan, Josh, was it a red card?
Oh, I think so, for sure. As Marissa said, they were both very bookable offences, so I'm not sure where John's coming from here.
Yeah, and Aloisi's definitely, and as you said, he's going to cop flack from the FFA, but he's been copping it from fans, from the media, that he just should have kept his mouth shut, because it's, you don't want to be, they've still drawn, and it still comes off as like he's being a sore loser, essentially. And yeah, it's really disappointing to see.
This is one of those instances where I think the FFA needs to be very harsh. They do need to fine Aloisi, because any comments made about a referee, especially post-game, they need to be judged as harshly if you're making comments such as like being aggressive about the way that they were calling things. And if you've said that something wasn't deserved or that the officiating was poor, you need to be reprimanded for it.
Well, just to make an example of someone,
exactly.
I guess. Yeah. But we'll move on from that game. It was a great start to the season. But the Sydney and Western Sydney match, the Sydney Derby, it's now... what is it, Joel? He's got the website up there.
Yeah, I do. So the time since Western Sydney Wanderers last won a Sydney Derby is 2 years, 8 months, 4 weeks, 15 hours, 23 minutes and 20 seconds. Time since Tony Popovich last beat Graham Arnold is 3 years, 7 months, 1 week, 1 day, 19 hours, 53 minutes and 30 seconds. So some smart cookies come up with a nice little website to keep track of that.
Can you link me that website? I just want to keep watching it.
Certainly, Josh.
So it was 1,001 days on the day of the Derby. So I think that's now 1,003. So it's a long time since. And Western Sydney have been one of the dominant clubs since they've come into the league. So it's quite disappointing for them, considering they've finished above Sydney FC in most of the seasons.
Yeah, of course. It's never it's never good being essentially a ragdoll for your local rivals for that long. But on the night, it was so un-Western Sydney. When Sydney FC got the better of the Wanderers, they just got open up just like that, just with a click of the fingers. And it's not what you'd expect from a Tony Popovich team. Just
good defensively.
To have so many numbers at the back, a real focus on defence, and then to concede in the way they did. And 4 goals as well. Obviously, it was going to be a tougher task after Arditz Border, the new signing at the back, was red carded, but still very disappointing from the Wanderers. Bad way to start the year.
Yeah, it definitely was. And what did we make of Kerem Bullett's return to the A-League? Marissa, we'll start with you.
Well, he's an interesting character, isn't he? I want him to do well, because I think he is good for the league. But yeah, I'm cautious about what he's going to provide for the Wanderers this season.
Hopefully it's not any negative press.
As long as he doesn't go near any McDonald's, we should be all right.
Well, he shouldn't be allowed to with the strict dieting that they're on. But yeah, that would be very bad. I think they'd probably have a do not let enter sign with his face on it, and he's pretty recognisable.
The tattoos give it away a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, he should be, he needs to do well up front, because, they have been not lacking goals, but they do need some spark up forward, because, Piovikari last season didn't offer much in the way of forward play, so he needs to do well, and I think he can.
Well, ever since Shinji Ono left, they've been sort of starved, haven't they?
Yeah. Look, I think this season though, I think Nico Martinez might offer that, hopefully. But the Wanderers have got Mitch Nichols as well.
He was okay the other night.
Yeah, he was good. I thought he was their best player, along with the Japanese player Junpei Kusakami. He looks really good, and
he was quick.
Yeah. He looks really fast-footed. That's not even a thing, but I've lost the word.
Speedy.
Yeah. And fleet-footed. That's what I'm looking for.
There you go.
There we go.
Yeah, but anyway, maybe he can be, the next Shinji Ono. They've had a couple more Japanese imports since he left the Wanderers, and they didn't quite work out. So maybe he's the one.
And hopefully he does well, and it prompts other clubs to start buying Asian players, because it will benefit them in the long run and the league in the long run as well.
And especially in the Asian Champions League as well, so because they can actually play.
Yeah.
But also that match was it was the biggest blowout of the weekend. But Perth and Central Coast Mariners, as you brought up before, Josh, that was a really interesting match, and to be 3-0 up for Perth and looking like they were going to run away with it, and obviously I think they're one of the favourites for the season, I think.
Yep,
and
that's right.
Joel was telling me there's about 4 clubs that probably could win this one, and Perth are one of them. But Central Coast, obviously, poor year last year, but you'd take that start, wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, any team with Diego Castro in it, you'd assume would be a title contender, especially at this point. You had Adam Taggart scoring a brace within the first 30 minutes. And by halftime, you thought that game was well and truly over, especially considering Central Coast aren't exactly favourites to win the title this year. But I thought that second half was fantastic. I've already talked about my boy Connor Payne. He had Roy O'Donovan scoring as well, which is fantastic for Central Coast. But yeah, it was one of the comebacks, or we could say comebacks of the year. It's the first week. So yeah, I'll go on a limb and say that's the comeback of the year so far.
Well, you've said a lot of things, especially on Breakpoint, and some of them might come true. You never know. But Paul Okon, the coach or the manager of Central Coast, he was very pleased with the result at the end, and sort of spoke about what he said at halftime. There was no real animosity. He just wanted to get back to basics, and here's what he had to say in the press conference after the match.
So there was certainly no harsh words at halftime. It was, don't lose belief. Let's try and execute what we've been doing every day in training, what we've been doing in friendly games till now. Just show a little bit more bravery, and the reward is that that we scored 3 goals and certainly should have scored more.
And they might have been able to score more, but it's a great effort from Central Coast considering the season that they had last year. But Adelaide also, they would have been bitterly disappointed with drawing with Newcastle.
To be fair though, I think Newcastle would actually be the more disappointed party here, because the Jets took the lead through a really great goal from Wayne Brown, one of the imports that, in my opinion, has really flown under the radar amongst all these other foreigners like Nico Colazzo and Bobo. But that, I don't know if any of you guys saw it, that calamity at the back for the Jets with Jack Duncan coming out of the box and slide tackling his own defender and essentially handing Jesse Macaronis an equaliser for Adelaide. That was probably the blooper of the season. It's only been 1 round as well. So that says a lot about how bad it was.
Very Newcastle, though.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame that we can still say that. But I think, if anything, Newcastle will be peeved that they didn't come away with the win.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment there. But I think just in the defensive effort, what you talk about, that's something they're going to have to improve, isn't it, Joel?
Yeah, of course. I mean, Newcastle, like the Mariners, weren't exactly world beaters last season. So if they're going to compete this season, then they're going to have to really tighten up the back.
Yeah, definitely. But quickly, before we move on to the Socceroos, the Melbourne City got through their first match of the season, and I think I reckon I'm going out on a limb here, but I'm saying that they're the title favourites at the moment, just with the signings that they've got, and I think with Tim Cahill as well. I think even though he's 37, 38, bordering on 38, he's going to be one of the key factors because he's still playing so well. And Caceres netting home the 31st minute goal, and that was the only goal of that match against Wellington. They'd be very pleased to get that win, and they're sitting second on the table now, so it's a firm start for Melbourne City.
Yeah, well, you just got to look at that attacking. It's more of a quartet really than a trident. But you've got Bruno Fornaroli, Bruce Kamau, Nicholas Colazzo, and Tim Cahill, who didn't even play, as well as the likes of Anthony Caceres and Luke Bratton, who was awesome at the weekend. If City can keep this kind of form up, then they are going to be scarily tough to beat. And they probably could have won by even more had Thomas Sorensen not been sent off for the first time in his career, actually. He's been playing for 23 years, and that was his first red card.
Fantastic effort.
Yeah, so, I mean, I tell you what, though, it really sets the platform for the Melbourne Derby this weekend. It's going to be an amazing match, and that will be Tim Cahill's debut.
Exciting prospect, isn't it?
I'm not very high in Melbourne City. I think they've got a lot of what I would probably call slightly overrated players. Marissa, what do you make of Melbourne City?
I'm very excited about what they offer up forward, but their defence worries me deeply, and what John Venskip does with that defence worries me deeply as well, because he has been known to chuck in a back three every now and then, and I don't think he has the cattle for it. But I am very interested to see. He has brought in some defensive players, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how they go over the course of the season.
Yeah, it was interesting at the weekend, actually, Marissa, because Neil Kilkenny really played as almost a centre back. He dropped from midfield into the back four, which I thought was really strange and brave, because I thought Michael Jakobsen held down the ship really well. But to see him dropping back was quite odd. I guess it just points to Melbourne City really want to actually utilise that attack, but it does open them up too.
Yeah, it was very weird as well when they have, someone like Osama Malik on the bench, or if you need a fullback, Manny Muscat on the bench, why aren't you utilising them rather than a midfielder? But I don't try to understand what Venskip does.
But we'll move on from that. We'll get to more A-League next weekend. But the Socceroos also over the weekend 2-2 draw with Saudi Arabia. And it was an interesting match. Saudi Arabia going 1-0 up. The Socceroos scoring the next two, but then an 83rd minute goal for Saudi Arabia, getting them the tie. But what does the result mean, and what are the ramifications from that late goal for the Socceroos? And Marissa, obviously, it's they would have loved to have won. They'd be disappointed to have a draw, but I guess an away draw does help.
An away draw is always good, but the way Ange has the team working, they expect 3 points regardless of who they're playing or where they're playing. So he will be disappointed with that, but it's not the end of the world. There's still plenty the Socceroos can do. So the situation with qualifying is that Saudi Arabia and Australia are on 7 points. The UAE and Japan are on 6 points, and the top two teams go straight through to the World Cup. So we play Japan, and the Saudis play the UAE. So these upcoming matches are very important in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. And this Tuesday night against Japan at Etihad Stadium, that is a match that has to be won for Australia, because then they would go to 10 points. Japan would stay on 6, and that'd be a real body blow to their qualifying hopes. And if Saudi Arabia or UAE, I think the winner of that will have a real good shot at qualifying. But all teams have only played 3 matches, still 7 to go. So there's a lot of time before the qualification is decided. But third place also goes through with so this is Group B, and then third place, if I'm right, Joel, goes and plays third place of Group A.
Yeah, and then it's a playoff against the 5th ranked South American nation.
Yeah, so that's almost suicide, really, because I think it was Jordan last time who came up against Uruguay, and they got belted.
They got hammered,
Yeah, big time. But Josh, Australian qualifying, can they get through?
Well, I'll be there on Tuesday, so I hope so.
Yeah.
That's pretty much about it. I'll be taking my journalistic hat on, and then my Socceroo scarf will be back on. I'm 100% rooting for them. So, I thought in the Saudi Arabia game, I thought Saudis were fantastic. I thought their pressure, the way that they were attacking the ball, their goal they scored in the opening, I think it was 5 or 6 minutes, was fantastic as well. And especially when we got up 2-1, I could tell Ange had thought that we'd gotten through that lump in the first couple of minutes, and we looked on top. And then they kind of came out of nowhere and scored the equaliser. And as much pressure as we were generating, I think, Ange would be disappointed we didn't get the three points.
Yep, definitely agreed. And here's what he had to say. His disappointment was hard to hide in the press conference.
We're disappointed we didn't win the game. We're in a position to win the game. Apart from that, there's not much else to say. If the Saudi team is very happy with the draw, then that's great. We're not happy with the draw, but at the same time, we've got some home games coming up, and we'll focus on that. But in the end, I thought it was a good game, and just disappointing for us that we couldn't finish the job.
So disappointment was there for Postecoglou, but also you got to look at the positives, and an away draw in the hot and stuffy conditions of Saudi Arabia is a great result in the end there. But we'll move on to the Formula 1, and it was a very good race in Japan yesterday, exciting the whole way through from the start right until the finish, with Hamilton and Verstappen fighting for second spot. But the end results, Nico Rosberg continued his domination of the field, winning over Verstappen, who finished in second, held Hamilton off. Hamilton third, Vettel in fourth for Ferrari, and Raikkonen in fifth. But again, Rosberg making things look easy, finished the race without any worries, really. He was phenomenal. And I think Verstappen and Hamilton was probably the most exciting battle of the afternoon, don't you reckon, Josh?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And brought up a lot of controversy as well as turn 16 on that. I think it was the second
The
one?
chicane.
The chicane, yeah, where Hamilton tried to take Verstappen, and it was considered that he was braking. Was it turning under braking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He moved his position after under braking.
Yeah, and they're trying to classify that he was doing it to block Hamilton off, and that should have been considered an illegal defensive tactic. Verstappen ended up finishing second, and Mercedes have now lodged a complaint, which I just don't understand. Hamilton himself has come out and said that he thought it was just tough driving, move on to the next race. We're better than that. That's what he's come out on his own personal Twitter and said.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Personally, I don't think there was much in it. Verstappen didn't really do much wrong. Yes, he's an aggressive driver, but that was hardly an aggressive move from what we've seen from him this year. So I don't think there's anything to worry about there for Verstappen. I think he'll keep his second place. And Hamilton, after a really poor start, 8th by turn 1, could have cost him the season, really. He's 33 points down on Rosberg with 4 races to go now, and we're talking about this off air. Rosberg, if he comes second in every race for the rest of the season, he'll win the championship, and that's if Hamilton wins them all. So Hamilton will have to win every race, and Rosberg comes second, and Rosberg will still have the championship. So
it says a lot about Formula One, where that was the biggest news, where in the same vein, Mercedes sealed the Constructors' Championship.
Yeah, with 4 races to go.
Yeah, that's how one-sided this competition, the Constructors' Championship, has become, with Mercedes being so dominant.
Well, ever since they changed the rules of Formula One, they changed the engines, the sound. It's been all Mercedes, and
it's far less competitive.
Yeah, it's frustrating, I think. But I think even the racing this year over the past few months has improved, but I think it's still disappointing. But Dan Ricciardo only came 6th in this race, but the Red Bull just didn't seem competitive. Verstappen's did, but Ricciardo just struggled a little bit with the straight line speed, and he sounded pretty deflated after his race, and here's what he had to say in the press conference.
Obviously, we don't have the same straight line speed, but also in the high-speed stuff, I was just struggling a lot to keep the tyres fresh. So I think obviously the straight line speed, we struggle a bit, but also following cars close today couldn't really save the tyres, I guess, and really launch an attack. So it was just sort of, you'd make sort of one step forward and then another back, and it was a bit like that. So.
Yeah, and Dan obviously wouldn't be too pleased, but I reckon he'll bounce back. The next race is in Texas, so will be an interesting one there. It's a very new circuit, so still learning the sort of where the pitfalls of the track and everything like that. But we'll move on to the championship standings, and the main ones are Rosberg and Hamilton. Rosberg 1 on 313, Hamilton 2 on 280, so 33 points. Ricciardo 3rd, 212, Raikkonen 4th on 170, and Verstappen and Vettel equal 5th on 165. And the constructors, well, Mercedes have sealed that, 593 points, and Red Bull 2nd, 385, Ferrari 3rd, 335. Moving on, though, to the tennis, and as Ryan brought up before, Nick Kyrgios winning his 3rd title of the year, but the biggest of his career as well, in the ATP 500 event of the Rakuten Open in Tokyo, defeated David Goffin. It's Goffin, Ryan.
No, it's the way I pronounce it.
Well, we've looked it up on the website, and you're wrong.
Okay.
I was waiting for you to bite back.
No.
You're supposed to bite back, Ryan. Disappointing.
Ryan does it how he wants.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he? It's only tune in on Breakpoint. I'm sure I'll cop it there. But a great win for Kyrgios. But do we still think he's got more work to do before he gets the approval of the public?
Depends who you ask, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends whether you ask, someone that likes that flamboyant nature, or someone that just, I guess, wants to just watch tennis and just kick back and appreciate it for the traditional elements. But look, congratulations to Nick, because we give him a lot of stick, but to get the biggest title of his career in a 500 tournament, this could be a real marker for him, like an actual real stepping stone.
Yeah, and there were no mental lapses, there were no outbursts, and this week it was his first week with a fitness trainer, so that could lead to bigger and better things for him, and I hope it does, because he's great to watch, and I know I'll be the first one to say that I have given him a lot of flack over the last year or year and a half, but the way he played this week, and especially against Gael Monfils in the semi-final, to knock off the world number 8 in straight sets, Brilliant stuff.
Well, the thing is, he won the way Nick wins tennis. He won with flair. He won with tweener shots. He won hyping up the crowd. It wasn't like he changed his mentality. It was the same Nick. He just played more determined, more focused, and wanted to win the game as opposed to focusing on things that he shouldn't.
Yeah, well, he had hunger this week and he didn't seem irritated at all. And I watched a lot of him, and he looked really good. And if he can stay that way, then
this is the Nick Kyrgios we want to see.
Exactly, and that's why we get so frustrated, because look at what he can do and look at what he has done already in his career. And he'll move on to Shanghai this week as the number 12 seed and could have a quarterfinal showdown with Djokovic, which would be one of the matches of the season.
Well, he'll have a third round matchup with Berdych as well.
Yeah, I think he's beaten Berdych twice this year.
Berdych did beat him in the Australian Open.
Yeah, but since then, Kyrgios has knocked him off twice. So that's going to be a great match in itself. So this is what Kyrgios had to say in the interview, thanks to ATP World Tour after his win over Goffin.
Yeah, I mean, I just try and play big under pressure. Just play big, serve big, and that way it helps me sleep better at night. If I know I just went after it, but it paid off today.
Realise I just said Goffin wrong after that. So I've been giving Ryan crap, and then he's done that. So, and then I've done that, sorry. But yeah, it's a great win from Nick, and the fitness coach, Ryan, that's got to help him, surely.
Well, it's a step in the right direction with Nick. I think he has had sort of flirtations with different training coaches, but now he's actually employed one full-time, which is good to see, and this will help him sort of stay fit for the big tournaments ahead.
Yeah, definitely. And well, there's a couple to go for the rest of the year. And qualification for the year-end finals in London. He's sitting 12th in the race at the moment, needs to get to 8th. He's not too far behind, and there's a high possibility if he does well at these final couple of Masters events in Shanghai and Paris, with a couple in between, Valencia, Vienna, a few tournaments there. If he can do well, there's possible qualification on hands there for Kyrgios.
Well, he did well in the Asian swing last year, so who's to say he couldn't do it again this year?
Exactly. Well, the thing is, he's only got second round points to defend from Shanghai last year. So if he does well, he can get his ranking close to the top 10. He's up to 14th this week. So there's, he could be the first Aussie inside the top 10 in 10 years.
We'll have to beat Del Potro for that top 10 spot.
Yeah, you really want Del Potro to get there. He's ranked 64th.
I don't know if it's going to happen, but I just really want him to.
I don't think it is, Josh. I think you're dreaming there. But also in the other tournament in Beijing, Murray over Dimitrov in the final there, 6-4, 7-6. So a tense final, but Murray gets career title number 40 and moves within 4,000 points of Novak Djokovic, which is the closest someone's been, I think, 4 years.
Any moment now.
Yeah, any moment. But I think Djokovic is going to hold that for another year or two. So we'll see what happens there. But quickly, before we go, a couple of AFL trade rumours here. It's the first day of the trade period with the free agency opening last week. But the first one to go this morning was Tyrone Vickery from Richmond, as I mentioned, off to Hawthorn, which I'm very happy about. Waste of pick 8 in the 2008 draft.
And go and watch Vickery kick 75 goals next year.
See, that's putting money on him for Coleman next year.
That's what I'm worried about, Ryan. I really don't want that to happen.
Captains the All-Australian team. And
but the Tigers do get pick 26, which is pretty good, I think, for
draft Richard Tamling again.
Yeah, I suppose he's just going to waste it. What does that matter?
I wouldn't be surprised if they did, to be honest. The recruiting managers are still there. So, but another one, the biggest one of the day is Bryce Gibbs, who wants out of Carlton, the number 1 pick from the 2006 draft, wants to leave and go back to his hometown of Adelaide, wants to play for the Crows, which is, for Carlton fans and for the team, is bitterly disappointing.
In contrast, for Adelaide, that's fantastic news, because their forward line and their defence is phenomenal, but they do lack backup for Rory Sloane. Yeah. And obviously Scott Thompson coming to the end of his career. So adding someone like Bryce Gibbs into their midfield is their push to possibly winning a premiership next year. And
another one of those big body midfielders that they love and can bully the opposition. But Gibbs, but the thing is, who do Adelaide give up? Well, they'd have to give up one of their top draft picks. I don't think they'll be giving up any of their top players.
I think they'd be willing to give up a top draft pick if it gives them a premiership chance.
They're going to have to, because Bryce Gibbs has 3 years left on his contract at Carlton.
Yeah, so it'll have to be a substantial remuneration there.
Yeah, so it'll be, you'd think at least their first round pick.
Have to be. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, if it's not, Carlton won't trade.
It'll be a first round pick and possibly a player, or a sort of a
fringe
lower
player.
Down, fringe player.
Yeah, well, I know
second pick.
I think Jared Lyons wants to leave the Crows, so I think that might work, a top round pick and Jared Lyons, who knows? But we'll see. I think they've got Sam Kerridge and Matthew Wright at Carlton, so they'd obviously know who the big workers are at Adelaide, and they can have a bit of input on who the Blues do get. But also, Daniel Wells wants out of North Melbourne, and Collingwood apparently have already offered him a 3-year deal or a 2-year deal with a 3rd-year clause if he wants it. So Daniel Wells will leave the Kangaroos as well. Michael Barlow might leave the Dockers. No real surprise there, as they want youth. But Geelong have shown interest in Brett Delidio, and they've confirmed that this morning, which worries me a little bit as a Richmond fan. But he would go very well into the Geelong lineup. He'd fit very well.
Oh, he'd slot right in. And I think with, departing big-name players like Corey Enright and potentially Jimmy Bartell there at Geelong, I think, he'd be a great fit for the Cats there.
Because he's in a good age. So he's been injured a lot the past couple of years, but still only 29. So
him and Dangerfield can share that baby oil. They like to rub on their arms.
Yeah, they could too. Delidio rubs a lot on it, so on his arms. So that'd be... I don't know why we're talking about that now, but that's a good way to end the show, I think, with baby oil. But Joel Fritchie, thank you for coming on the Final Score today.
Pleasure, mate, and it's so good to have football back.
Yeah, you'd be very pleased. You've been talking about it for about 4 weeks now, so it's finally here. Josh Campbell, thank you.
Great to be here. I think we should get sponsored by Johnson's Baby Oil.
There we go. Ryan Tennyson, thanks for coming on, mate.
Always a pleasure, Val. Thank you.
No worries. And the Queen of Outside 90, Marissa Lordanich, thank you again for coming on.
Thanks for having me, guys.
No problems at all. That's it for the Final Score today. I'm your host, Val Febo. I hope everybody has a lovely